In this video, I want to show you a bit of a tool I'm developing for mental coaching. It's based on the work of Julian Rotter, and it's about locus of control. So in my high production value coaching, of course, I would have, we're going to flash to the full screen slide of the thing that I'm talking about. Okay, so look at these quadrants here. We've got within your control and out of your control versus positive and negative state situation, like actual objectively not in a good place versus you being in control and not in control. So I'm going to talk about this one right here, the swamp. Ooh, look at that. We call that the swamp. I call it the swamp. Let me give you a little idea about the framework that I've developed. It's like chutes and ladders. So you want to move from one quadrant to another because you want the benefit of being in that ultimate in your control and good things are happening. And we call that the generator because that's where you're going to be most productive and effective and engaged and creative and making things happen and building relationships and feeling good and developing your person and developing other people. You're really going to make a difference in that state. But when things are out of our control, or they feel like they're out of our control, and things aren't going well, or we objectively or subjectively not going well, I still haven't worked out the details of all this, but perception is reality. So let's just say that you are an objective person who is not experiencing these sorts of pessimistic states, or you're like that kind of person who just everything looks like it sucks all the time. Let's say you're in that higher state, but things are actually going bad and they are actually out of your control. What are the emotions that you're going to feel? What are the indicators of this state? Helplessness, anxiety, depression, maybe even addiction, right? Just the negatives. There are more, but this is just to help us identify, how do I know I'm in this state? Our target state in the swamp is to get grounded. We need to do that right away. Why do we need to do that? We're already in a bad state. Well, we don't want it to spiral out of control. So what do we have to do? We need to stop. We need to catch ourselves. We need to stop that downward spiral, that momentum. How do we do that? Process. We need to process the emotions. We need to reframe the moment, and we need to cope with it. Even if it's bad, it can at least be made better. The whole point is to adopt the positive mindset first so that we can influence the reality that we are in. Other things to know. You can dig a pit of despair or adopt horrible coping strategy. Yes, there are horrible coping strategies like addiction or like running away or denial. You need to face your problems head on. So that's what we're talking about here by reframing, coping, and processing. But it starts with getting grounded. So I'm kind of working up and down the ladder here of our. This zone is the regretted past, a traumatic present, or imagined undesirable future. Oh, what's that called? Anxiety, right? Imagining a future that has yet to happen. You think something bad's going to happen, but it hasn't happened. You're just anticipating it. So this is anxiety. So this is the anxious state. Anyway, that's one of the quadrants, and what, like I said, the point of this is to help anybody stuck in any of these four quadrants. Well, I wouldn't consider being stuck in the generator. Having things in your control and being in a good situation is not. I wouldn't call it being stuck. I'd say that's not a terrible thing, and that's awesome. But for people that are not in that desirable state, that are in these other quadrants, that are either with things out of their control and they're negative, or they're in control and they're negative, or they're out of control and it's positive. We want to have things within our control and to be in a positive state. Now, I'm not saying you need to be a control freak. This isn't about, I'm saying that there are variables in our life. Let's start fundamentally. What are the things that most people just, they give lip service to, but they don't give a shit about? Their sleep, their diet, their addictions, their physical health. The only thing you walk into this life with is your physical health, and yet it's like everybody's, not everybody, I want to say people in general, people with certain problems could immediately remedy their situation by just paying attention to these only variables that we have direct influence on. Um, where was I going with this? See, I don't have any sort of thought. I just wanted to demonstrate this one mental model I was trying to create so that if I'm mental coaching somebody or consulting or offering personal training to, I can identify. I can say, you seem like you're in this state. Let's work on some mental tools so you can move yourself, chutes and ladders like, into another quadrant. You can change your state. Or like Tony Robbins would say, change your story, change your state. But it's true, right? You've got your unspoken story, your unstated story. You've got your stated story, things that you say out loud, and then you've got your state, which way you're going. And so these things are sort of superimposed on each other in our life and in our mind. And what do I mean, the unstated story? The unstated story is really powerful in this quadrant model, in these locus of control, in this locus of control model. Because we have the things that we say out loud, but then there's the real story inside our head that we're living by. And maybe we acknowledge it, maybe we don't. I mean, if we're in a serious case of denial, then we're probably drowning in alcohol, shoving it down into a box and saying something totally different on the outside, while not even understanding all this packing of the gunpowder we have going on deep internally. And so that's all I'm trying to do here. I'll give you. Let me see if there's anything else in here I would share without giving you the whole thing, because I don't want to. I don't want to blow up the whole package and not give it to you with high production value, right? What we want to change and why: behaviors, habits, and actions. Clearly, identity, beliefs, and thoughts. Ooh, because we identify with our beliefs, right? And if our beliefs are what's holding us inside of the swamp, that's then we got to do some deep changing. It's like maybe it's easy to get out of the swamp, right? Maybe all you need to do is just sleep a little more and you change your mindset. Believe me, going from 5 to 8 hours of sleep is huge. A sleep cycle is an hour and a half long. That's why the recommended sleep is 7.5 to 8 hours, because then you get your 5 sleep cycles and then the little bit of lag between and the waking and the falling asleep and waking up. You go from 3 to 5 sleep cycles, you will feel a difference. I mean, if you do it over days and weeks, for sure. Like, yeah, if you catch up on sleep in one night, you'll feel slightly different. But if you establish a sleep pattern, maybe you'll just walk out of the swamp and you won't need to do some serious work. What else here? Target states. Yep. So I want to get you into your target state and then anchor you in that state. And that's why I've categorized this with indicator emotions. We can figure out what state you're in. We have a target behavior to handle the state better. All right, I'm not going to tell you anymore. I'll just make more videos.